In this video, we demonstrate how to set up an Emperor tent. Your tent will come in two boxes. One will contain your tent canvas and the other one will contain your poles. This tent does require 2 people to set it up. Once you've unzipped your tent bag, lift the tent out of the bag, unstrap it and begin to roll it out. You ideally want to position your tent somewhere where there's access to the front door, the side door, and you're not pitching underneath trees, as this can damage the canvas. You'll understand the shape of the tent once you've unrolled it that first time and made sure it's all spread out and see how much room you've got. It is a large tent and you want to make sure that you leave enough room to pull the guy lines out as well. Once you've got it laid out, work out where your front door is and start to manoeuvre the tent into position, ready to pitch. We start by pegging the ground sheet with these smaller, shinier pegs. You go through the elastic loop, through the metal ring, and mallet the peg right into the ground. As you're going round, you want to be pulling the ground sheet tight to make sure it's smooth across the bottom. You need to do this at all points around the base of the tent. Next, if it's the first time you're erecting the tent, you need to tie the guy lines on. The guy lines that come from the peak of the tent are longer, as you can see here when they're laid out next to each other. They need to be tied on to the points next to the cone, as demonstrated here by Charlotte. You need to tie these in a double knot and quite tight to make sure that they don't come loose in the wind. You need to do this all the way round the peak. There should be 2 on each peak. Next, you have some slightly further down the top of the canvas. As you're tying them on, make sure you don't stand on the canvas. You can just kneel on it while you're reaching those higher up bits. Next, you need to go around and tie all the lower level guy lines on. You can see all the loops all the way around. Next is the poles. There are 3 door frames. One is slightly larger than the others, which is for the front door. You then have 2 centre poles and a roof bar that goes across the top of the centre poles. Open up the main door to give yourself plenty of space to get both centre poles through. Assemble them like this with the pointy bit at the top and the D-ring at the top of the pole as well. Lay them on the floor, assemble the roof bar and slide the pointy bit through either end of the roof bar. This is the trickiest part of putting up this tent, so make sure that there are 2 of you and you are looking for the small gold loop in each peak. Insert the pointy part of the pole into that loop and start to push up the centre poles to push the canvas higher. This bit can be a bit tricky and you just need to work as a team to lift the tent up. From there, it's easy to pull the guy lines out and create a lot of space. If you have a third person to help, it can be helpful to hold the door open at this point to create a little bit of air inside the tent. Next up are your door A-frames. Take off the rain cap and put that somewhere safe. Assemble the poles like this, and you want to put the pointy bit through the metal loop above the door, and you're looking for little sockets either side of the door to enter the end of the door pole into. There's a socket either side of each A-frame that needs to be assembled, and it's sometimes easier if you've got someone to hold the top of the door up for you. Make sure you put the rain cap back on top of the pole on the outside. Next is the guy lines. We have these large steel rebar pegs for this. Put it through the end of the loop on the guy line. Make sure it's lined up with the seam of the tent. Then mallet the rest further into the ground. It doesn't need to go all the way in, just enough to make it steady. You want to do this all the way around the tent. You want to pull down the tightness so that it's about a foot away from the canvas on the lower guy lines. On the higher guy lines, the tightener can be lower down. This gives you room to tighten the tent afterwards. The position of the peak guy lines can be decided by you depending on what space you have, but we bring them out to the side just to give a bit more stability to the tent. To tighten the guy lines once you've set it up, hold the tightener and the canvas at the same time and just pull it closer together. Inside, your tent should look like this. This is a hugely spacious tent with so much room for family camping or garden parties. And that is our ultimate Emperor tent from the Bell Tent Shop.